There's a saying by a guy I'm a big fan of, a guy called Derek Sivers, who founded a site called CD Baby, which kind of says more information is not always what we need. If more information was the key, we'd all be billionaires with six-pack abs. Now, I'm not a billionaire, and I don't have six-pack abs. You'll have to take my word for that bit. So, and where the reason that quote is kind of important to me, some of the best producers I know were guys you guys would never have heard of because they never released any records whatsoever, which kind of brings me to that first point on the list, beating perfectionist paralysis. The more you know about production, the easier it is to just get obsessed about the kind of tiny details and kind of worry if the shit you're making is good enough, where in reality, you just need to get the fucking music out there. That's one thing that almost anybody who's been successful has done consistently. Made music, release music. If the stuff's not that good, you'll soon figure that out. People will tell you, or their lack of response will tell you. So take me, age 21 years old, sending out 100 demos, back at the point where you had to put them in, put CDs in envelopes, not a single response. That was the response. So, and the way you get to a point where you can put stuff out consistently is structure and daily routine. And that's one thing I really wished I'd kind of learned earlier. It would have got me a lot farther, a lot more quickly. You don't always need to stick to a structure or routine, but it's pretty fucking important to do it most of the time. And I try and compare my day to day to say a professional athlete, right? I'm obviously not a professional athlete, but when you look at an athlete, they control every single aspect of their day: what time they get up, how much sleep they get, the training they do. Every aspect of their life is kind of, worked on to maximize their performance on the sports field. But when it comes to the creative industries, we kind of expect it just to happen. We're like, didn't make any good music today. Unlucky. Whereas there's actually a lot of things you can do to dramatically increase the chance of firstly, making music, and secondly, making good music. Does it mean I always crush it? Absolutely not. Does the pro basketball player always crush it? No. But he is on the fucking court every time. And that's where I try and get myself. So, I find if I wake up with no plan of how I'm going to spend my day, here's how my day goes. First 45 minutes, I'm in bed, on my phone, Instagram, Twitter, emails. My wife's like, get up, kids need breakfast. I'm like, yeah, a minute. It's really important. And the next few hours will basically be spent bouncing between social media, emails, WhatsApp messages. But the crazy thing is, I feel busy. And the day will literally just disappear. And I get to 7 or 8 o'clock and, essentially the day's gone. But I've been checking in all day. I feel like I've been incredibly busy. But in reality, I've done nothing. Does that sound familiar? Has anybody had days like that? So, it's really, really important, I think, to figure out your routine to kind of avoid that stuff. We'll put some notes on YouTube, some sort of recommendations I've got for this sort of stuff. Tim Ferriss has written a lot of stuff on morning routines, really, really important. I read a great book recently that was recommended to me called Willpower Doesn't Work, also about just creating the routines in your life that increase the chance of you sort of having success. And I think kind of the next thing, I can't see my slides, by the way, so I'm going to come and look and see and see what's next. So studio time and deep work. The way I used to make music, I'd essentially be making music, but I always had my phone on, I always had emails on, and it was difficult to know how much real music got made because I was always doing other shit. And then a couple of years ago, I changed the way I made music. Now, there's no emails. I have the phone in case of emergencies. There's no Instagram. There's no social media. There's nothing. And I put a timer on, and every 30-minute block in the studio basically gets logged. So I have targets of how much time I want to spend making music, and it's made a massive difference because for the first time ever, I'm accountable. I can tell you guys today, I spent exactly 3 hours making music. because I know that's the amount of hours I logged. Yesterday was 3.5 hours, and over the Thanksgiving weekend I had the kids, so we didn't do anything. But so just tracking the time you spend making music or doing whatever the important task is and doing it uninterrupted will make a massive difference. I think the kind of last thing I want to say on this is it is the music business, not the social media business. Obviously, if you're trying to make it as an artist, social media is important. There's absolutely no way you can make it as an artist today without it. But it's way less important than we generally give credit for. For me, I'll try and post the main stuff, the most important stuff, but I'm not on fucking stories every day. You know, the world can do without seeing what I had for lunch every single day, if it means some better music gets made. And, you know, I think, you know, for you guys looking to make it as artists, just remember, nobody buys a gig ticket because an artist posts great fucking memes. Because those sort of short-term strategies, they get you likes and they get you comments. And you go, wow, look at all the likes this got, and look at the comments. But it's not ultimately bringing people to your shows. And as an artist, there are two things that are going to pay the bills and make you a professional in the business and then keep you a professional in the business: people coming to your shows and people listening to your music. Those are pretty much the only two things. So, yeah, I'd be very, very careful about the amount of time you spend on social media. And, you know, these apps, whilst incredibly useful, are addictive as fuck. And they're very, very good at stopping us doing what we should be doing. Last couple of points. Find out what you're good at, and engineering ghost production. I'm a big fan of trying to utilize your strengths rather than trying to double down on your weaknesses. So for me in particular, I have a few things that I'm very, very good at. Writing melodies, particularly when vocals are involved, putting melodies around vocals. You know, writing songs, I'm pretty good at. When it comes to engineering, the nuts and bolts of putting a track together, I can do it. You know, like I'm all right at it, but it's not my main skill. And although tracks like Concrete Angel, You, Sanctuary, they were 100% produced by me, the amount of time it takes me to get a result that is still a little bit worse than somebody that's really into that shit is nuts. I can work on a track for 3 months, and somebody who is a better engineer would probably have done it in 3 days. So now I'm much more open to going, hey, here's what I do well. For the shit I don't do well, let's get somebody else to do that. You know, and it took me a long time to kind of get my head around having other people help, because I'd been a one-man band for like over a decade. And I don't remember who it was, but somebody said to me, do you think the Beatles were like engineering their own music? Like they wrote the songs, they went in the studio, then did they have to like, you know, position the mics and get on the faders and stuff? And I was like, fuck man, you're right. So, you know, I think it's very important. Figure out what you're good at, and where possible, get help, either in terms of collaborations or pay somebody else to do the stuff you're not good at, which allows you to focus on the stuff you are. So for me, I've spent a lot more time focusing on writing songs and writing music, as opposed to endlessly tuning a kick drum for like 6 or 7 hours. And I'm not even joking, that does happen.